Hello everyone, welcome you all. For the past 3 years, we have seen a lot more concepts as a short videos. So as the continuation of that, in the last month, we have started a new subject called database management systems, and we have discussed more basic things in the database management system as the short videos. As the continuation of that, today we are going to see a new topic called triggers in SQL. So from the last video, we have known what is a SQL. It is a structured query language that is understood by the database, and this language is used to maintain and organize the data in the database. So as that, today we are going to see a new concept called triggers. Yes, come, let's get into a video. What is a trigger? Introduction. A trigger is an SQL. It's a procedural code that is automatically executed in response to certain event on the specific table. Yes, the triggers, which is nothing but it automatically executed a small code. So for example, suppose we have a banking database. So the customer details are not saved only in the one table. So in multiple table, the data are stored. So if user is going to insert a new customer detail in the database table, so a duplicate table must also contain that data. So for this purpose, the triggers can be used. Yes, sir. It is important to understand how these small codes make such a huge difference in database. So a triggers, which is nothing but it's a small code that executed automatically when some event is occurred. Yes, sir. So this is the topic what we are going to discuss today. What is a trigger? Examples of trigger in SQL, operations in triggers, advantages and disadvantages of triggers. Yes, already we have seen what is that. A trigger in SQL are small code that automatically execute when specific event occurs on the table. These triggers play a vital role in maintaining data integrity, ensuring the accuracy and consistency of information. SQL trigger act as a safeguard, responding to events and safeguarding data integrity. This is the syntax of triggers. So the syntax is create trigger. Create is a keyword. Trigger is also a keyword. And trigger name, user can give any related name to a trigger. And after or before, this is the event from the before event or after event, your trigger should occur. And the events can be insert, update and delete, and on which table, for each row or for each column. Next one is the trigger body. So this is the basic syntax of your trigger. So next, these are the blocks of the trigger. That is, first one is the create trigger. These two keywords are used to specify that a trigger block is going to be declared. Next one is your trigger name. It specifies the name of the trigger. Trigger name has to be unique and should not be repeated. Yes. So next one is your before and after. This specific when the trigger will be executed. It tells us the time at which the trigger is initiated. That is either before the ongoing event or after. So next one is your before triggers are used to update or validate record values before they were saved to a database. So next one is your after trigger. After trigger used to access fields value that they set by a system and to effect changes in other records. The record that activated the after trigger or read only. We cannot use after trigger if we want to update a record because it is lead to a read only error. Next one is your insert, update, delete. These are the DML operations and we can use either of them in a given trigger. On table, we need to mention the table name on which the trigger is being applied. Do not forget to use on keyword and also make sure that the selected table is presented in the database. For each row or each column, row level trigger gets executed before or after any column value of a row changes. Column level trigger get executed before or after the specific column changes. So next one is the trigger body. It consists the query that we need to be executed when the trigger is called. Yes. So trigger body is the most important thing in your trigger. So next one is your operations on trigger. The operations of which is nothing but we can create a trigger, we can drop a trigger, and we can display a trigger. Advantages of trigger. Forensic security approvals on the table that are presented in the database. Triggers provide any other way to check the integrity of data. Uh, uh, Counteracting invalid changes. Triggers handle errors from the database layer. Normally, triggers can be useful for inspecting the data changes in the tables. Triggers given an alternative way to run scheduled tasks. Using triggers, we do not have to wait for the schedule even to run because the triggers are invoked automatically before or after the changes it made to a data in the table. And next one is your disadvantages of trigger. Trigger can only provide extended validation, that is not all kind of validations. For simple validations, you can use the not null, unique, check and foreign key constraints. Triggers may increase the overhead of the database. Triggers can be difficult to troubleshoot because they executed automatically in the database, which may not invisible to a client application. So these are the basic things about your triggers, and trigger is the most important concept in the database, and many of application, real-time application, they are using a trigger concept in their database for their convenience and client satisfaction. So thank you. You can refer these websites for more content for SQL triggers. Thank you.